I think the main inspirations in boxing have got to be the females who sort of led the way through the sport. Even if it was only like 10 years ago, the Nicola Adams and Katie Taylors, Clarissa Shields, all of them paved that way so that we can do what we're doing now. But even people who came before that, like the Layla Ali's and all of them, it wouldn't be possible to even be in this gym and to be boxing if they hadn't put the work in all those years ago. And in terms of boxing, I mean, Katie Taylor's the best, one of the best ever, and I think, especially as she was like in my weight at the Olympics, someone I've always really looked up to. Hi, my name's Vivian Parsons. I box for Athelwee Boxing Club in Brixton. I've been boxing for about 7 years now, and I've won 3 national titles in that time.
I remember Viv coming into the gym in our early stages, so we actually began the club in 2014, and she came in very shortly after that, maybe 6 months or a year later, and very quiet, very, very quiet to start with. You know, obviously she came in very young. She was 12, going on just about to turn 13, so she was very young, you know, very shy, and it took her a while to find her feet. She came from a judo background, so she came from a completely different discipline. So I think that on top as well, sort of transitioning from one discipline to another, was part of it.
I think when I started, I was just a bit intimidated, because obviously I was like 12. I'd done judo, but it's different, it's a boxing gym. And there was just boys there, just teenage boys and just me. I probably didn't speak to anyone in the class for about 6 months when I started. But I just loved it, and I remember when I came in, I had a female coach the first time who took me through it, and I think she said, "You've got potential there," and I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna do it for the next 10 years now then.
One thing that I did realise straight away with Vivian is her mentality. You know, she stood out because of her mentality, quiet, but worked hard, did just literally, not just, sometimes you can see a boxer or an athlete carrying out a certain task or drill, and it's quite generic, you know, they're sort of going through the motions as they call it, but with Viv it was a little bit different, and you can always tell the difference where they're actually engrossed within that drill, and she was engrossed in the training straight away.
I think I was literally hooked like the first session I ever did, and I think with boxing it's just like every session, every like time you come and train, there's a new challenge, and there's something you need to work on. Even when you have a good day, oh, that was a good spar, then the next day I was like, that was rubbish, or we need to work on that, or we can improve on that. So it's never, however much you've done, however much you achieved, there's always more that you can do.
You can't really give someone character, mentality, heart, desire. You know, you can talk them into it, and you can say the right things and make it sound fancy, but reality is, if you've got all of those things that I mentioned plus passion, it's within you, like it's within you, and that shows. And normally it shows straight away in people as well. Like you could meet someone, you know, you can meet a stranger and straight away know they're talking about a certain subject. All right, this person's passionate, and that's what Viv was like early on. She was passionate and engrossed in what she was doing. So it definitely came from, you know, a characteristic, but also the fact that she got into a discipline from a young age with judo. She was already combat trained coming into boxing, so that definitely played a role as well.
So yeah, we did about 5 series of assessments up in GB, because everyone who got to the national finals got accepted for the assessment. So that assessment, we basically trained non-stop for that assessment for about 6 months. It was a lot of work, but we knew that's what we were in it for. We knew we could make that step onto a GB and onto that international stage. And even if it seemed like a bit quick, for me, I never really boxed for England as a youth. So to go straight into the seniors, straight to those GB assessments was like a very big step up. But we knew that we could do it, and we just dedicated about 6 months to training towards the assessments. Didn't quite get the full time that we might have wanted, but I get to go up and train with GB once a month, get the experience with all the top girls up there, and also get the opportunity to then grow from there and build into the squad and hopefully see where that can take us.
It took a little while to sort of break her into boxing, but you could see the talent was there. And once she understood the discipline of boxing, the technical, tactical side of boxing, how to read certain situations and all the physical stuff, I knew it was just a matter of time before she started to excel, and that started to show on early in her, in her sparring and her competition. Like they say, the cream rises to the top, and I think if you've naturally got those attributes and you want to learn and you're coachable, you're going to make improvements. The rest is natural ability, the rest is commitment, dedication, and that type of stuff. But also, if we're talking about more sort of soft skills, psychological type, the psychological approach of coaching, it was more about reassurance. So just that reassurance that, look, you know what you're doing, you're prepared, like you've been training, you're fit, you've been sparring, so now go out there and do what we know you can do. And I think that was a large part of it early on. And even now, especially with younger boxers, they just need that reassurance sometimes to know that what they've done is all the correct things, and whatever plays out on the day, you're going to be 100% ready to go out there and win ultimately, which is, especially at the stage she's at now, is it's what's important to us.
Obviously you try and get sparring, you try and get people down, but you can't always get good sparring as a girl. And so being up there where all the best girls train, Olympians training up there, younger girls coming up, people my age, who just, should just get you all the best experience and see what it's going to be like moving forward. Technically
is definitely very sound. That's something she's been drilling from the first time she walked in the gym. It's quite a philosophy here at Vivi that, especially myself as a coach, we believe in the fundamental teachings of the sport first and foremost. And even as they progress through the sport, no matter what level they get to, always going back to the fundamental teachings, I believe everything then falls off of that. So yeah, she's definitely been drilled with that from early on. And just like anything, if you drill it and you practice it, it becomes a habit and it becomes muscle memory, and that's what you're starting to see with her in the ring. And there's always things that you're going to look at as a coach and be like, right, we need to improve more on your balance when you're throwing shots going back, or we need to work on more of the rotation of this type of shot. But ultimately, if you're constantly, it's a process, you're constantly drilling it and working on it in the gym and making them aware of it and giving them the feedback. Whatever we do from the gym floor, we take into sparring, which ultimately goes through to competition. It's kind of the way we work.
Yeah, I've been training with Bobby since I first started, since I was 12, and he's been there for almost every time I've sparred, even every fight. I think there's one fight he hasn't been there for, but it's really been a very important part of what I've done in boxing, to I've had someone there who's believed in me from the very start and seen where I've come from. Because a lot of people in boxing just see where you are now, but to have someone who's been there from the beginning is a massive boost, to have them know you that well. And yeah, I think we can go very far. I think a lot of the bigger challenges, especially when I was younger, was just getting the opportunities. It was just impossible to find fights a lot of the time, even if you end at tournaments, maybe there's no other girl into it. And then obviously with COVID coming, then you can't box for about 2 years. But for that whole time, we just stayed working through it. And I feel like in the last couple of years, it's really come to fruition, because all that work that we put in for years and not getting fights and not getting opportunities to box, now we're suddenly getting those opportunities and it's all coming together. So
with Viv, one thing I get asked a lot is, what is the main attribute, or what are the attributes a fighter needs, the top sort of three. Look, there's a list of them, but the reality is, for me, if I had to choose one, I would say coachability is up there. I would say if you're coachable, that means you're willing to learn. If you're willing to learn, you're going to improve. Viv is one of the most coachable boxers I've worked with in the last 8 years, going on 9 years, so it's quite a long time. She's open to ideas, she listens, she accepts feedback, she gives her own feedback. She's a very good reader of boxing herself, so she understands when she's not doing something as well as she could. She understands when something's working for her, and I think that all combined is just a recipe for success. It's a recipe for progression. So yeah, the relationship we've got is very much built off conversation. Like, we have conversations after sparring, we have conversations after training, we make notes, and it's just a process of constantly improving based on what we feel needs to be done.
I think one of my highest points in boxing was winning my semi-final for the elites this year. It was I think my 3rd or 4th senior fight, and we win against the #1 seed in the group. We knew it was going to be a tough fight, but we trained very, very hard for it, studied the game plan, and we came out with the decision on the end. So that was a really good day. But obviously then you get moments where you're like, what am I doing? The loss is always hard to take, and bouts falling out last minute are hard to take. Things not going your way and you think they should have gone your way.
Yeah, the beautiful thing about boxing, I think with most combat sports, is that a lot of the stuff they do in the gym, where it requires so much discipline and focus and work ethic and listening, there's a lot of transferable skills there that they can take in everyday life. You know, so if you're in a boxing gym under that pressure where someone is trying to hit you ultimately, you know, you wake up in the morning and you think, right, what have I got to do today? So all of a sudden you understand there's a structure. All of a sudden you understand, okay, if I want to get that done, I need to focus and I need to do this in order to achieve that outcome, because boxing teaches all of that. You can't go into a boxing ring without preparation. That needs planning and structure and discipline and focus. So that translates into everyday life, small tasks, and ultimately with Viv in particular, giving you an example for her, how I've seen skills being transferred over to her as a person is in confidence. So, you know, like I mentioned in the beginning, she was very shy, coming in, kept herself to herself, didn't talk to no one. But ultimately, she's now not only a role model in the gym, but she's also a coach in the gym. She's very much a figure in one of the main figures in the gym, where people go to her for advice, go to her for coaching, go to her for all sorts. So over time, we've seen that develop. You know, the confidence she has now is great to see, and that started through her journey in boxing.
I think this AFOE especially is massive as a community gym. It means it's for us, so it's for everyone who comes through, especially for the younger people in the community. It really wants to push them towards something that they would never really get that opportunity to do otherwise. It's a very family gym as well, like everyone knows each other, everyone works together day in, day out. Yeah, I think it's important for everyone who comes to the gym, whether they're young, whether they want to go competing, whether they want to just train for fun. It's something we all need, and I think that's true for all amateur boxing gyms. They give something that you can't find anywhere else, really. I don't know what I would do if I wasn't boxing. I honestly don't know what I would do. As soon as I started boxing, I knew it was something I needed in my life. For whatever reason, I needed to be in the gym, to be active, to be learning. It really gave me something that I haven't got from anything else. So I think if I wasn't boxing, I'd be doing some other sport, but I probably wouldn't love it as much. Yeah, if you're thinking about starting out in boxing, you've just got to go for it, even whether it's just you down there and loads of people who you don't talk to, you're not friends with. It doesn't matter. If you love the sport and if you want to push yourself and see what you can do, you have to do it regardless of what everyone else is saying. Like, no one would have thought I would do boxing. It was never something my family thought I'd do, my friends thought I'd do, but I didn't care. I just came and I just worked. I came to every session probably for about 6 years straight without a break, and it's because I loved it. And I think when you really love something, you've just got to stick at it, whatever everyone is telling you. I think when you're starting out boxing, you just need to, a lot of it is about taking your time with it and not rushing through the journey, because a lot of people just want to jump in and think they're going to the Olympics in the next couple of years, but it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of hours and weeks just in that gym, just day in, day out, perfecting what you're working on, even if you then don't get those opportunities. As long as you're in the gym, you're still improving. That is what matters in the long run. And just take your time with it and make sure you're really enjoying what you're doing, because you're only boxing once every 2 months or something, especially for the girls. So it's the days in the gym and the hours in the gym that are what are important. So make sure you're enjoying that, enjoying the journey. My parents have massively supported my journey. They've come to almost all of my fights they can. They never were really into boxing before, but my dad will sit and we'll watch all the fights with me, and he'll know everything about my opponents more than I do. I don't think my mum really likes the idea of me boxing. She doesn't like watching it, but she'll still be there even if she's closing her eyes the whole time. I want to see how far I can go in the amateurs, hopefully get a lot of international experience, and then seeing what happens obviously with the boxing being taken out of Olympics, stuff like that. It's all a bit up in the air, but maybe turn pro in a few years' time, see what happens. But I just want to get the amateurs under my belt, get as much stock as you can, as much experience as you can.
So with a Fiwi boxing gym, we we started in 2014 off the back of a petition, you know, so through the founders, Stedman Scott, Tony Goldring, they started in '97 in the building doing football. A lot of success over the years in football and getting kids through to professional academies and so forth. So the recipe and the ethos was very much there from 1997. 2014 decided we'd get into boxing. I came down as a volunteer, literally as a volunteer, where we put together a mobile ring 3 times a week with, you know, with 6 bags, put it up, take it down again. It was a lot of work with one other person, and then in between actually run a session. Did that for 3.5 years, you know, managed to get 2 national champions out of that ring. Just the space, you know, we've built up the clients and the customers and the boxers slowly, and then people started hearing about us. So we got funding in 2017, came down into what this gym is today on level 1 in the Brixton Recreation Centre, and it's a full-time, fully operational boxing gym. From recreational to competitive boxing, we do it all. We do it all. So what a Phoebe means is what it means to the community. A Phoebe means for us, for the community. Everyone's welcome through our doors. We're all inclusive, and whether you want to use boxing as a method of fitness or competition, we're open. Our doors are open.
When this gym opened up, my mum was like, "You've got to go down there." I was like, "No, I don't want to go down there." But eventually I come down and I loved it. Basically never looked back.
I can finish. One finish at the end. I can finish at the end. 2 more of those. 1 more. Tap.